I want to begin tonight by focusing on a debate that has been raging across the country. It's a very relevant debate, viewers, don't get me wrong. But I want to begin by asking you a few questions. Do you recall the movie Kashmir Files? Do you recall that it was made by director Vivek Agnihotri, that it starred Anupam Kher and a host of other talented actors? Do you recall that it sought to capture a dark period of Indian history? I hope I've been able to, at some length, remind you that this movie was made and released and became an immediate talking point because it focused on an exodus driven by bigotry, the culling of Hindus in Kashmir by Islamist terrorists. It talked about the conspiracy of silence that denied the Hindus justice. In fact, 30 years have elapsed and not one accused is behind bars. That conspiracy of silence continues, and it traces its origins back to the efforts that an ecosystem made to even deny recognition to the refugees as victims of a dastardly crime. That ecosystem, viewers, also, and let me tell you this, also tried to de-legitimize the reasons for this outrage. Viewers, the double standards of some who fought for justice for the victims of the Gujarat riots of 2002 but never for the victims of Hindu phobia in Kashmir were also commented upon in this movie Kashmir Files. A film like this ought to have been welcomed by all, but it wasn't. Many from the film fraternity itself lampooned it, discredited, questioned the intent of the filmmakers and so on. After facing severe backlash for his film, Pathan, now viewers, we have a situation where Shah Rukh Khan has called out the viral threats of his own movie. But before all of that, I want us to focus very closely, viewers, on where the debate is raging. Now, viewers, in Calcutta, over the last few days, we've had a situation where a number of filmmakers and top actors like SRK and the Big B and Mr. Bhatt have decided to comment on what they believe is a massive threat to freedom of speech and expression. Now, ordinarily, viewers, these comments would have been very well received. But unfortunately, they have sparked a massive controversy. Now, let me just tell you a little bit about what was first said about the Kashmir Files. Viewers, today you have 3 or 4 or 5 top actors talking about freedom of expression. But viewers, freedom of expression of the makers of Kashmir Files clearly didn't matter to them. Nadav Lapid, an Israeli filmmaker, called the Kashmir Files a vulgar propaganda movie unfit for the IFFI, which is a prestigious Indian film festival, and nobody spoke up. None of these spoke up for the freedom of expression of Vivek Agnihotri. Swara Bhaskar backed Nadav Lapid's vulgar propaganda jibe. There were several others. Anurag Kashyap. He, in fact, went on to say that hope Kashmir Files isn't picked for India's entry to the Oscars. He was ready to promote a cancel culture against this movie. Rahul Dholakia, filmmaker, said that Hate sells, propaganda sells, truth never did, follow the crowd, follow with the majority. And he was hinting at this movie. John Abraham didn't defend Agnihotri's freedom of expression. In fact, evaded a question that was directly asked of him. No one spared a thought for freedom of expression or even creating license. No one talked about creative license, about rights and democracy. Yes, viewers. No one of any worth stood up. Why? Maybe because it wasn't in their interest. Thankfully, the public didn't fall for it. Moviegoers endorsed the content of Kashmir Files by packing into movie halls in record numbers. Now, viewers, when the very same public is upset with a slew of other movies, and moviegoers are electing not to watch them or call for boycotts of these movies, thereby endangering the financials of big movie producers and also the economic security of big stars, a group of India's movie stars are speaking up about freedom of expression. Now listen to them, viewers. Listen to them very closely.
Social media is often driven by a certain narrowness of view that limits human nature to its baser self. I read somewhere that negativity increases social media consumption and thereby increases its commercial value as well. Such pursuits enclose the collective narrative, making it divisive and destructive.
The 1952 Cinematograph Act set out the structure of censorship as it stands today, upheld by the Film Certification Board. But even now, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm sure my colleagues on stage will agree, questions are being raised on civil liberties and freedom of expression.
I do not think it is the spirit of India to reject anything, reject any race, any culture. The spirit of India has always proclaimed the idea of unity. The ideal of unity never rejects anything, any race, or any culture. It comprehends all.
So who are the big B and SRK and others referring to? Viewers, take a look at the long list of ban calls and threats issued on, for instance, SRK's films Pathan. The paying public is upset that SRK has insulted the color Bhagwa, which is associated with the Hindu faith, in a dance sequence. That's the dance sequence, those are the pictures. Now, viewers, it's no one's view that we should have an extrajudicial super censor, that anyone's freedom of expression should be curtailed or curbed because of misplaced notions of what is acceptable, etc. But it's certainly vital to not exhibit bias in standing up for creative license or be selective as to when you must make the intervention. Nonetheless, viewers, many have been quick to back Bollywood's call for free speech, especially the calls that have been made by Amitabh Bachchan and Shah Rukh Khan and the others. Listen in.
Now they have stooped down to the level that the color has been patented by so-called saffron forces. Then saffron color should be banned altogether from the use and let it be patented by BJP and RSS. Height of nonsense, such things are being allowed. Nobody can save this country.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी से मेरा अनुरोध है कि एक विभाग अपने यहाँ नया सृजित करें, उसमें एक मंत्रालय बनाएं जिसका नाम रखें भावना आहत मंत्रालय। तब जाकर के मुझे लग रहा है कि हर जगह हर चीज पे भावना जो आहत होती रहती है। एक सामान्य सा गाना है, जिस तरह से अदाकारा यानी कि दीपिका पादुकोण जी दसियों बार उसमें कपड़े बदल रही हैं, इसमें सारे रंग के कपड़े उन्होंने पहने हैं, हरा रंग भी मेरा ख्याल है एक आध बार आता है, तो क्या करें? मतलब इस तरह से रंगों पे राजनीति, मुझे हैरत होती है कि इस देश में भारतीय जनता पार्टी के नेताओं को कोई काम नहीं है क्या?
Well, viewers, this is obviously a debate that is at the heart of what it means to be a democracy. Let's open this up tonight, and I'm also going to invite you, the family of Times Now, you, the viewer out there that tunes in, to be a part of this conversation. We have a panel today of some very worthy voices who will talk to us, who will try to explain where they are, where they stand on this issue. But I would also like the family, the larger family of Times Now's viewers, to be part of this conversation. Let me first begin with Aarti Tikku, a senior journalist. Aarti Tikku, what do you make of this intervention? Obviously, it's important to speak up for free speech. No one can deny that. You're a journalist, I'm a journalist, and of course, the tragedy is that when we've been threatened, no one has spoken up for us because a lot of people don't agree with our point of view. So that, of course, I'm setting aside. I don't want to play the victim card here, but I mean, I'm amused that suddenly it struck people that we have this problem. I remember someone from Bollywood a few years ago waking up and saying India has become this very horrible place to live in.
Absolutely.
And we are taking our children away from here, and we then see that same actor, a very thoughtful actor, I'm told, hobnobbing with the Turkish president, who is no exemplar of tolerance, let me tell you, just because, you know, the movie was being made there. So is this conversation happening because some people are worried that their movies are not going to be watched because certain people, the paying public out there, have seen through this sort of dichotomy of theirs and no longer think that they want to watch dishonest people playing to the galleries? So there's this panic that, oh my God, we're going to be broke, and therefore let's speak up quickly, let's shame the public. Is that what is happening, or is there more legitimacy to all of this?
Rahul, first of all, as a journalist and as somebody who has always stood by freedom of expression and speech, I will say that Pathan movie criticism that is happening at the moment in the country is totally uncalled for. The criticism lashed out at Deepika Padukone or the director or Shah Rukh Khan himself is completely unacceptable to me as somebody who has always stood up for freedom of expression.
Yes.
Now, the second issue, however, is that this entire lot, which is suddenly worried about their right to free expression, I'm sorry to say that this is the same lot who has also indulged in curbing freedom of expression of others. And in fact, I am pained. In fact, I've been pained to see the kind of nonsense, the kind of hateful commentary, the bigotry that has come out of Bollywood against the Kashmir Files, because that is my story. That was my story. And the kind of reception, not from serious critics, not from serious watchers of movies, but from the Twitter brigade of Bollywood, which is day in, day out, only doing political activism, only because they don't really have anything worthwhile to do. They do not have movies to show. Even in this movie, this Pathan song, I actually bothered to watch because I wanted to understand what the issue was. I found the song completely mediocre. There is nothing exceptional about the song. As a viewer, as somebody who has a good sense of movies, good sense of art, it's a very, very mediocre kind of song, the same song and dance, which makes no sense to anybody who wants to see quality cinema. But that aside, the issue really is that this lot is getting a taste of their own medicine now that the other side is lashing out at them for nitpicking. They really do not have an issue. Everyone who has a problem with Pathan movie or the song, they are nitpicking. They don't really have any credible issue. But this lot, which has had, indulged in hypocrisy, in double standards, they are getting a taste of their own bitter medicine. And that is the hypocrisy that should be pointed out, that should be called out, because it hurt me. It has been hurting me for last 1 year, given the kind of hateful bigotry that comes out from this lot on the Kashmir Files. They do not want to acknowledge that there is a truth of that story, and that story belongs to me. But they maligned, they tarred that movie only because it does not suit their politics and their political masters.
Well, there you go. There you go, viewers. There's a certain degree of double standards. And I started by saying that there should be no super censor in this country. Let everyone present their point of view. No problems. Obviously, there are some, unfortunately, due to the great interventions of Jawaharlal Nehru, there are limits to free speech in this country. He actually amended the Constitution. The First Amendment here was to restrict the scope of free speech. In America, the First Amendment was to actually enable free speech. So you just look at the trajectories we have taken. Nehru did it, of course, because he was so scared of criticism. And he said, in the assembly, he got up in the Constituent Assembly with an interim government then, not even elected by the people, not by us, viewers. And he said, oh, people can't derail the working of my government by spreading all sorts of lies about it. So they have to pay, and we have to come out, and we have to make that amendment. Ishkan Bhandari will tell us a little bit more about that. He's a lawyer, he knows. But before I do that, I also want to hear from Archana, family of viewers of Times Now calling in, Archana from Delhi and Mihir from Kolkata. Archana, good evening. How are you? Tell me what you think about this.
Very well, very well. Good evening, Rahul.
Good evening.
You know, hypocrisy and double standards are the hallmark of so-called superstars. You know, they stand exposed time and again. For me, they have never been the role models. For them, it's only the commercial consideration. Driving force is the commerce.
Okay.
Their outrage is selective. Silent on Kashmir Files. When the boycott trend starts for their movies, suddenly social media becomes narrow, or it's the social media's fault. They're all the time posting pictures on Instagram and making money out of it. Otherwise, any protest against the government policy or speaking against the Hindus or the country.
Okay, so no sympathy from Archana. No sympathy from Archana for this intervention. Ill-timed, serving an agenda is, to sum up, her view. Mihir calling in from Kolkata. Good evening, Mihir. Thank you for calling in. What do you have to say, sir?
Good evening, Rahul.
Good evening, sir.
My concern is for the film Kashmir Files. This bigotry, they never supported the Kashmir Files. They have never raised the voice.
Yeah.
So where the freedom of speech has gone for them? Why? Now I am challenging if the producer brings instead of that saffron, let them bring the hararang. I challenge.
Okay.
I challenge. Let them bring hararang. And I challenge.
People have a right to express themselves. Now, people don't want to watch a particular movie. Well, they don't. And that's just the way it is. Today you have social media. You can put out the reasons why you don't. And I suppose that's one way of looking at it. Let me tell you, viewers, just before this show began, I got a call from a leading journalist from one of India's leading print publications. And he saw our tease, as they say, the promotion for this debate. And he said, he recounted a story. He said the top leader of the Samajwadi Party, in fact, the very top, viewers, I'm not going to take names, because he said he still fears for his life. He said threatened him, physical harm, for writing a report. But no one spoke up. Not even Jaya Bachchan, who's in the Samajwadi Party, who at least was at that time very prominent member of parliament. She didn't speak up. And a threat was made. This leader unsheathed a sword, held it up, and said, this is what I'm going to do to this journalist. Aarti took go offline, I'll tell you who it is, former colleague. But it's interesting. It's very interesting. I was quite stunned and I was quite concerned, and therefore I've decided not to reveal this journalist's name or the person who made this threat. So viewers, when it suits people, we speak up, and that's not being honest. I want to open this up. Riju Datta, let me ask you. your chief minister jailed a few people for being critical of her in Bengal. I didn't see SRK coming there and say, I declined this podium because Mamta Di has jailed people. So how do you see this? I don't understand this, because he's so concerned about freedom of expression, but didn't talk to Mamta ji and say, well, you know, you've done the same. I hope you don't. Yeah, I can't hear you, Doctor. Yeah.
Yeah, Rahul, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can. I can, sir. I can, very clearly.
So in the same breath, because there are eminent journalists on this panel, should also remember the incident where an MP, a Madhya Pradesh BJP MLA, because few journalists wrote against him, were made to strip and stand inside a police station. So if you go into whataboutery, there will be no end to it. My logic is, I strongly believe, there is so much ruckus over this song. Now the two main issues about this song is apparently Deepika Padukone overexposing, apparently demeaning the
Listen, 1 second. Look, I'm not going into this faltu, silly, trivial controversy. I'm talking about the issue. I don't believe that people should have such a big problem, and we will talk to the VHP about that also. But I want you to address this. You know, you stood there. I mean, your chief minister did, your leader did. So they happy with what was said. Did she take a moment to reflect on the abject, and I'll use this word, abject hypocrisy of her actions?
Oh, okay. Now let me make you count the other hypocrisies.
Oh gosh. So two wrongs make a right, is it?
No, I'm not saying
what are you saying?
Right, but please,
should I recount the names? Should I talk about the people?
Of a national channel,
no, 1 second. No, 1 second, 1 second. Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me. I'm not picking and choosing. I'm telling you that I'm against anyone from the VHP or the BJP, etc., saying that, you see, this lady should not wear this saffron, this, that, the other. I'm telling you, I've got a problem with that. I don't want a super censor. Let the people decide. Who are we to sort of say that this filmmaker should drop that scene or drop... If it's passed by the censor board, it's done. But I want to ask you this question, and don't dodge it. Do you think it was right for Mamta's administration to jail these people merely for standing up and asking questions in the interest of freedom? I'm asking you, and be honest today.
Yes, you're asking me a straightforward question. I'm asking you a straightforward question. 135 people lost their lives.
It's wrong, sir. It's wrong. Now I'm asking you.
No, you cannot do this.
What do you mean I can't do it?
Don't go into a narrative set by the central disposition. Please, Rahul. You're too big a journalist to do that. 135 people lost their lives in Morbi. Our spokesperson raised that issue. He was arrested.
I defended your spokesperson even though he's the biggest troll.
No, my question.
I defended your spokesperson even though he's the biggest troll.
I am asking you.
So I'm asking you now. You take a position on the rights of the people that you decided to jail for being critical of Mamta Banerjee. You take a position. I've taken a position.
I strongly believe that even though I have not voted for Mr. Narendra Modi, you don't have the guts.
You don't have the guts to stand up for free speech. You have the guts, sir, to stand up for being partisan. Let me tell you. Who are hounding Taslima Nasreen for a book?
What happened to Gauri?
You tell me, take a position, Taslima Nasreen in your state. You tell me, does Taslima Nasreen, 1 minute, does Taslima Nasreen have a right to put out her book, Lajja? Asking you this question.
Why did BJP
yes, no.
in the last 8 years?
Yes, no. Yes, no. Does Salman Rushdie have a right? Does Salman Rushdie have a right to release the satanic verses in your state? I'm asking you, viewers. Let me tell you, viewers. No, don't get hysterical. Don't get hysterical. Riju Datta, you're too much of an intelligent man. You see, you dared me. You said take up cudgels for my spokesperson. I have. I've done it on a debate. Now I'm asking you.
I'm giving you.
Put your hand on your heart and say it was wrong of Mamta Banerjee's administration to jail the people who criticized her.
One second.
No, you can't.
You
can't. You can't. You're not honest.
No, why are you
there is no
my
honesty.
Question?
There
why
is
are you
no.
dodging my question?
Which
why
question?
Why are you dodging my question?
Which question?
If Taslima Nasreen was thrown out of the country by the Congress government in the last 8 years, why BJP has not given her citizenship?
We'll ask that question. I'm asking you a question. In 2012, a person was arrested for questioning the Bengal government's policies for farmers at a rally addressed by Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee in Jangal Mahal. Can you believe it, viewers?
If there is
in 2012, a Jadavpur University professor, one second, Riju Datta, Riju Datta, okay, asking a question on behalf of farmers is disrupting civil society. Have you lost your marbles?
On behalf of the victims of Morbi,
okay. Look, viewers, look at these pathetic people. How sad it is. How absolutely shameful it is. You've had Section 66A here being slapped on people left, right, and center. You've had people thrown in for sedition for protesting against a nuclear plant. 6,000 in one day. Gone. No talk about freedom of expression. Your bank balance gets a little impinged. Oh my God. Freedom of expression.
What is the problem with Shah Rukh Khan?
Freedom of expression. Let me bring in Ishkaran Bhandari. I want to also hear from our family of viewers.
Yes.
Tonight, viewers, if you want to defend democracy, then be dead right honest. Be dead right honest. Be like us. We take a position. I have stood up for a troll who has fake news about me, their spokesperson. They took in a troll, viewers, into their party. But he has a right.
Rahul.
He has a right. He has a right. I defend his right. But Riju Datta doesn't have the guts to stand up for the truth tonight, and that's been exposed. Ishkaran Bhandari. Ishkaran Bhandari.
Rahul, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Rahul, not only that troll, even today a fake fact checker, you fact checked him and he had to publicly admit that he was wrong. So, but let us come to the debate. Why is it that Bollywood, which was being loved by billions of people, today is finding that they are not getting their due? So let us look at it holistically. I hope this photo can be shown on your screen, if it can be. Do you remember this? A brutal gang rape happened in Kathua. Terrible, has to be punished. But en masse, Bollywood came up with a poster, I am Hindustan. I don't remember last time they referred to India as Hindustan. And then it had keywords, Devi in quotes, Sthan, and temple. Now a crime can happen at any place and it has to be punished. But everybody understands, and Bollywood knows how to sell a story. Everybody understands negative word association. Why was a brutal gang rape not linked to punishment, but Devistan in court from Kareena Kapoor Khan to entire A-list of Bollywood in a synchronized manner came up? That upsetted the people. So let us not see things in isolation. Or when you decide to stand with people who say, Bharat tere tukde honge, that will upset people. So let us not forget the background of what is happening. Second aspect, which is very important to understand here, and I will not go on Kashmir File, how Kashmir File at a time when every movie was flopping and Bollywood, which has a habit of, if you do even limited amount of businesses to praise people, completely avoided Kashmir Files. The public kept on making it bigger, so they had no option. But understand one fundamental aspect of freedom of speech. If you have the freedom of speech to say, please go watch my movie, or spend hundreds of crores on PR, then equally the other side of free speech is that people can say, please don't go and watch it. People can say, boycott it. That is the basis of free speech. I'm not talking about bans here, which the government does or anybody by violence does. That is completely not acceptable in a society. But to say that what is being shown should not be shown, voluntarily don't go watch it, is a part of free speech, which we need to understand. And finally, I will only say one thing. People who became billionaires and made huge names for themselves in the same people, now if those people are reacting to you so strongly and your movies are flopping, whether it be the biggest stars of Bollywood, then it is time not to lecture people, but to introspect why your actions
just like Vivek have made millions milking the agony of Kashmir Pandits and is making movies and enjoying a good lifestyle without paying a penny to the...
Rahul, please don't interrupt. Rahul, please tell this person not to interrupt.
What can I do?
Now,
They don't like your
just
freedom of
finishing the
expression. They want to impinge on it. What can I say? He's contradicting himself in a second. He
That's
doesn't
the
allow, no
problem.
one interrupted
The
him.
problem is hypocrites are also
He wants to cancel you. Ishkaran Bhandari, cancel you, drive you out of this debate.
Absolutely.
He
And
went-
when they have the power, they do that. They jail people for that. When they are in power, they do that, and they have done. And you have quoted enough
you
examples
cross the
of
line,
that.
you will be
But at
jailed.
least don't heckle.
Okay.
At least don't heckle. Nobody
So we are
interrupted
asking
you.
the question.
So Rahul, only last
Is
point
there
I would
a-
say is, please understand, ban is different from boycott, which people voluntarily do, and Bollywood must introspect why people are asking for it.
Okay, well, see viewers, I'm going to make a very clear divergence here. We cannot have people threatening directors with bodily harm, etc., for omitting scenes. But you certainly can't stop the paying public from starting a hashtag or coming out and saying we're going to boycott a movie. You can't say, oh, they're all driven by narrowness. Of course you can. You can be judgmental of them, but they have a right to reject your offering. They have a right, viewers, and they might give you reasons also. And that comes with democracy. You've got to take criticism, you can dish it out, but you must also take it. And that's the essence of our democracy. Now, our viewers are calling in. Ashok Pandit is calling in. Manas is calling in. Mr. Ashok Pandit, go ahead. First, you. Good evening.
Good evening, Rahul. Sorry, I was not able to attend your show, but I was traveling. But
So this is,
while traveling,
am I speaking
on the app,
to
I'm watching the show.
The filmmaker. Okay,
Rahul,
this is the filmmaker,
Rahul,
Ashok Pandit. Okay.
I would have
Right.
really loved when big wigs of the industry raised issue of freedom of expression, and they said that the Cinematographic Act was also quoted on the stage. While talking about freedom of expression and civil liberties, I would have loved if these people, a person like Mahesh Bhatt would have asked Mamata Banerjee that why the Hindus were killed, raped, and hanged post-elections in Calcutta just because they voted a particular political party.
Yeah, they
So I
exercise
think
their
the
rights.
freedom of expression should
They
have been
expressed a preference.
asked Mamtaji. Secondly, I feel very strongly as far as the films are concerned. Respected Bachchan Saab said that freedom of expression has been questioned, and 1952 Cinematographic Act was quoted. Well, I would have really loved if one tweet from Bachchan Saab or Mahesh Bhatt Saab or Shah Rukh Khan ji would have come out when in the International Film Festival at Goa, a foreigner mocked, humiliated, insulted an Indian filmmaker by calling it a vulgar film and a propaganda film.
Okay.
So selective activism.
Okay, selective
cannot work.
activism. That's his charge. Okay, thank you, Mr. Pandit. I want to bring in Mr. Manas. Mr. Manas, go ahead. Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening. This picture is completely vulgar. Every time they are targeting Hindus only. Why? Because Hindus are easy to target. Shame on them. And this Mahesh Bhatt is a Zakir Naik main brand.
Well, they're
Why
saying
is
that
talking
people
like
like you. So they are saying. So if you heard SRK, for example, and I don't want to misquote him or anything, but he did say that, you see, these are narrow views being expressed by a small minority of people on social media. How do you respond to that, Manasab?
No, this is not like that. Every time this all three Khans and Deepika Padukone, Tukre gang queen, always she does like that only. She has no guts to talk about this, what you call Kashmiri Pandit.
Okay.
They are telling them that is fictitious.
Okay, so it's selective. A large number of people calling in and saying that these interventions are selective because there is some vested interest here. Let me bring in both Kasturi Shankar and Ms. Bhavna Ramanna. Ms. Ramanna, where do you stand on this? It's an open question.
Namaste. To start with, whenever we are talking about saffron color, especially in India, there is a lot of misconception about the saffron color. The saffron, the clothing which is worn by the seers and the sadhus and santos in India, it does go through a lot of other kind of processes, and it need not be stitched. It should not be actually made by the machine. It should be hand woven. It should be cotton, or it should be extremely natural. It can be fiber, which is a natural fiber, it can be banana fiber, and these are things which is supposedly considered to be the saffron. And those kind of saffron in our houses, our mothers would not allow us to wear it, because unless you get a dikshe of the sannyasa, only then you can probably. Otherwise, no. But any other orange color, it becomes a color. And every color is loved by a woman. What's wrong in wearing any of those colors? Colors are colors, and it should be treated a color to start with. And I just want to ask another question too. Has Hindutva people have taken any kind of patentship of the orange? If it's things are becoming about the colors, then what about green? Then where do we stand using any greens at all? I think we should start asking questions like that now for ourselves.
Okay, Sriraj Nair wants to respond to VHP. Yes.
Well, Rahul, the biggest threat this nation is facing is of selective activism. I heard the Congress Rajya Sabha MP Imran Pratapgadi talking about the freedom of speech and creative freedom. Now, in the year 2017, a film was made by director Madhur Bhandarkar, who is a Padma Shri awardee and a 4-time National Award winner. And the title of the film was Hindu Sarkar, which was on the backdrop of emergency. And you know the kind of ruckus the congressman made. I have a video, and if you can show it, the kind of bullying the congressman did, and they stopped the shows in cinemas all over. So this is hypocrisy. Now, right to protest is there in the constitution, and it's a constitutional right of the individual to protest. So what is people are protesting? Now this is absolutely top fault. Can a family sit together and see this kind of song? And more on that, the arrogance of Shah Rukh Khan. So this is absolutely VHP is going to go all out and protest on this song. Now again coming to freedom of expression or creative freedom, Mr. Majid Majidi, an Iranian filmmaker, made a film called Mohammed. Did this people allow them to release the film in India? It never happened. What about satanic verses? What about Dr. Taslima Nasri? What about Mystic under the Burqa? So selectively they will agree to something and they will protest when their turn comes. This is not going to be work.
Okay, let me bring in Ms. Kasturi Shankar. Ms. Shankar, let me ask you this question. The VHP says, look, everyone has a right to protest in this country. You can make any demand you want to, as long as you're not harming anyone's person. We are not going out there and harming anyone's person. But we've said to the filmmakers, change these colors. Whether you like it or not, this film is going to be boycotted. We are not going to do anything. Of course, I don't endorse Sadhvi Pragya, BJP MP, who said we'll break their faces for insulting saffron. I mean, no one can defend violence. And I hope at least the VHP tonight will not defend that aspect of it, the violence.
Objectification of a woman, you know?
Huh?
It's absolutely objectification of a woman.
Okay.
That's okay, but you can't say
I have to say,
you will break faces for insulting saffron.
Is that Kasturi speaking? Because that sounds not like
Kasturi Shankar. Yes, go ahead, Ms. Shankar.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to say yes. As an actor, as somebody from the film fraternity, and also as an activist who has raised her voice on Kathua as well as Shraddha. No two ways about it. There's no selective activism. I do believe that freedom of expression is sacrosanct, but at the same time, that freedom of expression has to be guarded not selectively, but balancedly and unequivocally every time there is a danger to that.
Well
be it Kashmir Files or Kathua, be it Pathan or be it Kerala Story. All these lobbies that are talking about, I think Pathan is in a very unfortunate situation, because I think for them there is Hindu outrage and there is Muslim outrage as well. They are not making friends anywhere, which is unfortunate. And I think that is why Shah Rukh Khan kind of came out and said, I really think that he was talking about everyone, because everybody is against his movie and it's his movie and he has to say something about it. At least to his credit, at least he did not come out and defend the kind of hate that was spewed on other movies, other filmmakers. He did not come and criticize an effort at a Kerala story, which actually showed somebody in a burqa. But, you know, we obviously outrage about anything that does not fit our ideas. But that's, so I really feel that it has to, I think people need to outrage a lot less. We have to think about it with a stable and steady mind and say what is fair, what is right. Let's stand on the right when it is right. Let's not stand on, let's not be left liberal and woke just because it is fashionable to do so.
Let me at least say that at least as of now, no government has come out at the center to say that this or that scene needs to be nixed. At least the censor board has risen above all sorts of
I do have a problem with the Narottam Mishra ji. You know, I stand by the public voice, vox populi, but from a position of authority, how different is a Narottam Mishra from a Mamata Banerjee? If they are both going to dhamki dene se kya hota hai? If you're
how
a minister,
different is a Narottam Mishra
and you're going to blackmail people
from a Mamata
and start
Banerjee?
using
Ask
your
Kasturi
authority
Shankar. It's a good question. Would you like to answer that?
To ban a movie.
Okay.
How different is that?
My views are consistent on this. Boycott is a part of freedom of speech, like promotion is a part of freedom of speech. I'm never in favor of bans of anything.
Correct, sir, but
India,
when the minister says we won't let the movie play.
One point. But the unfortunate reality we should not forget. We can talk as lawyers. There is one segment where if you make any movie or anything, it is straight away sar tan se. So that is an undercurrent on which we are also operating, which we should not forget as a reality of India while we are sitting in TV studios and talking.
Let me tell you, viewers,
what is the law of the land.
Let me tell you, there are certain journalists who have been marked out for death. Let me tell you this.
Exactly.
I didn't see many people standing up for those journalists. That's really sad. Think about that. So I suppose when interests are getting impinged, then people speak. Let me bring in Lokesh Jindal, but just before that, I want to bring in another family member of Times Now, Mr. Shravan calling in from Nellore. Mr. Shravan, go ahead. Good evening. Nice to hear from you.
Yeah. Hi, Rahul. Can you hear me?
Yes, very clearly.
Yeah, Rahul. See, currently that issue with this Bollywood movies is sad. Okay, they are projecting this false propaganda on Hindu movies. Okay, they wouldn't dare to do such activities against other films. Suppose you say on the other religion. Okay, because they are taking this as granted.
Oh, okay.
And one more thing is that they are thinking that still the people are not, they are illiterate to ignore these things. Okay, the youth of the country now are literate. They know what to do.
Okay. So you're saying people are much more aware of the facts and therefore are more expressive of their opinions and are free to act the way they want to. Okay. Lokesh Jindal, the point was made by Aarti Tikku, by Ishkaran Bhandari, by several of our family members, our viewers who've been calling in and saying that, look, Lokesh Jindal, today it suits your politics to stand with SRK and Amitabh and all these other people for saying what they are. But when Agnihotri was saying exactly this, you were reviling him. Now, how does that work, Lokesh Jindal? Can you explain to me?
Hi, Rahul.
Hi.
Rahul, when we are talking about cinematography, we see that color choice, costumes, these are finalized after considering a lot of things. For example,
sir, we are talking about creative expression. I'm not talking about a film and a scene. I'm talking about the principle of creative expression. Now, you can have a storyline, you can have a script written in a way that you believe gives expression to what you want to say. Like, Salman Rushdie, he gave expression to what he wanted to say. There are others. And the example was pointed out of a book, many books. Certain people believe this is how they want a certain expression to be written in, to be visualized. So let's stick to the top line question. I'm not getting into the nitty-gritties of every movie, right? So I'm asking you, you took a position on this, but you didn't take a position on another movie. Kashmir Files. Can you explain why?
The reason why Kashmir File was not supported because this freedom of speech and expression indignifies a community. Article 21, which guarantees every individual right to life with dignity. So over here, this particular movie, Kashmir Files, was deliberately was portraying and indignifying a particular community. That is something that was objectionable.
Okay, let me ask somebody. Okay, 1 second. Let me ask Aarti Tikku. 1 second. Let me ask Aarti Tikku. She is actually a victim of that pogrom. First of all, none of those people have ever been called victims, survivors. They have been called migrants. As if they decided to leave the valley because the weather didn't suit them after a point. Can you believe it, viewers? Imagine if all the riot victims in Gujarat were called migrants who had left their homes. Oh, they migrated for a few days.
Absolutely.
What would have happened in this country? Aarti Tikku, respond to Lokesh Jindal. This movie, Kashmir File, the reason that we didn't support it is because it denigrates one set of people.
Now, it's really shameful. A lot of documentaries, a lot of movies have been made on Jewish Holocaust. Nobody says that Jewish directors, Jewish producers, they are denigrating, they are demonizing the Nazi Germans. Have you ever heard this argument? It's ridiculous. Similarly, there were movies made on Gujarat riots. Did we say that, there is demonization of one community against the other? It's ridiculous. It's shameful. These people, Mr. Jindal and their kind, please let me finish. Please don't give me this bunkum, please. I mean, you are basically saying that my truth should be hidden because it will demonize somebody. You cannot bring yourself to the point where you will.
No, so you want to say that a particular community was responsible for the entire tragedy?
That is your problem. That is your problem.
No, you want to say that particular movie becomes the truth? I mean, that particular movie is the established truth now? Is that movie going to set the parameter of truth? Is that movie going to set the parameter of history?
That movie were correct.
You are a journalist, madam, for heaven's sake. That's a creative expression. Let it there. Let it be as a cinema, as a culture, as a cultural expression.
You should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of yourself that you cannot bring yourself to point your fingers at the perpetrators. You should be ashamed for being so dishonest.
Even my grandfather had to suffer the veracity of the partition that occurred. Even he had to migrate to India.
Dishonest.
Even he tells a lot about what he suffered. But that doesn't give me any form of authority that I should start blaming a particular community and set off people for whatever he went through.
If a chance
everybody suffered in the history, but then this does not mean that you will start projecting a particular group of community or people and start discriminating.
Okay, don't bully. Lokesh Jindal, don't bully somebody. She's making a point. You want to badger her? You can silence her. I'll take her off.
Yeah.
Aapko pasand nahi hai, I'll remove her from the panel. Kar do main?
This is exactly. They don't like freedom and expression of people. Yeah.
Lokesh Jindal, come on. Grow up. Grow up, please. Learn to listen. There is another version out there which has never been told. Now, you may not like the way it is being told. So don't watch it. Make another movie to expose it. But how can you ban it? See, this is a problem, viewers, with the Congress party. They started this ban culture when they weren't even elected with Mr. Nehru. Yes. Two democracies, the American democracy, and go Google it, viewers, read a few books, you'll see what I'm talking about. The First Amendment to the Indian Constitution contrasted with that of the American Constitution. It'll tell you a lot about where we are today. It's really unfortunate. And as Kasturi Shankar, I think she spoke so well, and Ishkaran Bhandari have said today, how well and eloquently put, that listen, don't put your agendas.
Rahulji, I just want to...
Don't put your agendas. Defend free speech, absolutely. Yes, when it becomes problematic, as in it could have the effect of sparking some horrible pogrom or riot, then yes, there are laws, apply them. And those laws exist. Whether you like them or you don't, they exist. I think We have had some sensible conversation, but the prize for the most sensible responses tonight goes to our viewers, our family of viewers of Times Now. Thank you very much, viewers, for calling in. All of you who have called in and taken such a reasonable position. Let us not berate the paying public that might have a bone to pick with a movie by calling them narrow-minded. That's not fair. People have sensitivities, sensibilities. We all live in a society. We have to accommodate them. Let's not shame people. Let's not be intellectually arrogant, because that's also a form of censorship, viewers. I leave it at that. I leave it at that.